Hello everyone, my name is Gaius, a weeb with too much free time and too little money. But what I also have in abundance is good taste in media. And well, I like to consider it good taste, but taste is subjective. So subjective I am. And today I'm going to try, emphasis on try, to not have a mental breakdown while I talk about Muv-Luv. This episode in particular will focus on Muv-Luv Extra, the first of the Muv-Luv trilogy, which actually consists of only two games, but is divided across three sagas: Muv-Luv Extra, Muv-Luv Unlimited, and Muv-Luv Alternative. The following will be my thoughts, rant, venting sort of thing about Muv-Luv Extra. I tried to keep this in a coherent manner, but as you can clearly tell from my voice, I had to do this basically improv since Mob Love pushed me to emotional extremes. I haven't been pushed by a story in a long while. So strap in, go do the dishes, go walk your dog, go do anything, and just while you listen to a semi mental breakdown over a fictional piece of media. Very fun. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. My name is Gaius, and if you would like to hear more people talk about weird ass visual novels, light novels, and manga that nobody seems to talk about, then I'll be here for you tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, till the end of time. And after getting that Star Ocean reference in, let's get right into it. So, what is Muv Love, save in the name of love? Well, Muv-Luv is essentially a series of visual novels. At this point, a visual novel universe consists of the main series, spin-offs, both in manga, light novels, and an upcoming anime even. And Muv-Luv essentially tells various stories, some of them slice of life in nature, others about, casual stuff. Giant robots piloted by teenagers that have to defend the Earth against the invasion of an alien species. But not all of Muv-Luv is like this. Not all of Muv-Luv is this epic war story. If anything, all of it starts in the very humble beginnings of Muv-Luv Extra, what is essentially a parody slash exaggerated version of the typical romantic comedy, harem, ecchi, whatever you want to call it, really. And that's what I will be trying to discuss in today's video, podcast, whatever you feel like calling it. So, Love Love Extra takes place in this little fun town with our protagonist, Chad Chirogane Takeru, who lives a normal life alongside his beautiful and very well designed and very jumpy, very charismatic, very springy childhood friend, Sumika. And Sumika is, of course, in love with Takeru, something that is made clearly evident if you've either played more than two visual novels or watched more than one anime with like a tsundere or whatever. So we follow the adventures of these two as they go about in their daily lives. However, Takeru's life is turned inside out when suddenly one day he wakes up one morning and he finds next to himself a beautiful, beautiful girl and best girl of the entire franchise, Maya. And I hope I pronounced her name right. I probably didn't. And Maya is essentially a rich girl who comes into Takeru's life with the promise of making him her partner. Now, there is a lot to uncover as to Maya's backstory in Muv-Luv Extra. I will go over most of it in this video in a very general manner, so I won't go too deep into the specifics of it because Muv-Luv Extra, at the end of the day, is a very predictable story. What shines about it is everything that is unpackaged in it. It's not a page turner unlike its sequels, and it's not exactly shocking in terms of the ideas that it implements. But what is surprising about it is the level of energy with which these ideas are delivered to the audience. But let's go back to the plot. So Maya arrives into Takeru's home and immediately begins a series of shenanigans which basically consume Takeru's entire life. It begins affecting his high school life. It begins affecting his personal relationship with Sumika and his relationship with every single girl he's acquainted with. And so funny, haha, romantic shenanigans develop forth. So I'm gonna talk about each of the girls in a general sense because Love Love Extra like the vast majority of visual novels, is divided across routes. You can choose which girl you want to end with, and that will severely alter the course of the story. I'm gonna talk about the girls in the order that I played them in. So first, I'm going to talk about Sumika. I would like to thank some of the people on Twitter and Discord that recommended me the order I played these girls, because I feel like if I had done otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done all of them, which I did because I did it for the sex scenes. What can I say? I like eroges, even if I've only played like two of them. So the first girl I'm going to talk about is Sumika, the iconic childhood friend, and arguably one of the faces of the franchise, alongside Maya, of course. Her route is, to say the very least, something I did not appreciate until the end of the game. And when I say the end of the game, I mean the end of the entire Muv-Luv experience, not just extra. Sumika's route essentially covers her ongoing relationship with Takeru, and how Takeru, having had a pretty peaceful life, has not learned to correctly identify Sumika's feelings. He has a hunch because Takeru is not a completely stupid MC, but he definitely, through his life, has grown accommodated to to his relationship with this childhood friend who wants to be more than friends. And so Takeru has difficulty seeing that future. He's so used to the status quo that any change in it to him is foreign, right? So Meiya comes into the duo's life and radically changes everything, which prompts Sumika to become far more assertive in the relationship. And I was surprised at how many elements of drama Sumika's route has, and honestly speaking, a lot of them did not work for me. I feel like a lot of the times the melodrama, and I have no issue with melodrama because I like the clan at anime, so that would make me a hypocrite. But I feel like a lot of the issues that are prompted up in the Sumika route tend to be overly exaggerated, and you can clearly tell it's the game looking to insert conflict where there really isn't, which it's not to say that Muv-Luv Extra doesn't have any conflict, because believe me, the later routes that I will talk about do get quite emotional and expertly handle some sometimes quite tough uh, themes and material. But let's get back to Sumika. So Sumika's route basically goes through the majority of the game. It it is one of the routes you have to complete before going into Unlimited alongside Meia's, and there's not much to say aside from like the main plot of the game, because extra really changes a lot depending on which girl you choose. So you go through the motions and you slowly see how her relationship with Takeru really has hit like a plateau where like none of the choices that are given to the player really are overly flirtatious with Sumika, and I think that's a reflection of how much Takeru just doesn't see the relationship going past childhood friends. Of course, all of this culminates in one of the final scenes of the game where they go on like a trip to a hot spring, because of course the ecchi needs a hot spring arc or travel or whatever. And they go to a hot spring, and we get probably one of the best scenes in Muv-Luv Extra, where in this hot spring, Sumika talks with Meiya, and they talk about their affection for Takeru. And we really see another side of Sumika, really, because the fact that her relationship with Takeru hasn't progressed that much, is not something that affects Takeru and his incredibly dense head only. It also affects Sumika, and seeing her insecurities as a person in regards to this relationship is something that attracted me to her character, but it's something that I didn't really realize until far later. So, Sumika's route overall, if I had to give it a rating for the sake of giving it a rating, I would probably give it close to like a seven. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't anything outstanding. Hell, it's closer to a six. As a first impression of Muv-Luv, however, what really sold me on the whole experience and what made me continue was the presentation. My God, this game beats some anime in terms of like animation. I don't know how they did it, but like I swear, the sprites, the movement, the way the camera zooms in, this game has also insane audio mixing. Like a character will be standing to your left, and the audio of the game will be murdering your left ear, telling you, oh yeah, this character is like, I could physically position the characters. I could close my eyes and I can tell when the characters are speaking and when they're moving around. The audio mixing in Muv-Luv Extra is ridiculous. And if you like good music, if you like good performances, then I implore you to give Muv-Luv as a whole a try because it will not disappoint you and it only gets better. So let's get right into the second girl which I played, which was Ayamina's route. No, wait. Oh god, I'm already getting them messed up, and I'm only talking about extra. This is going to get bad when I get to unlimited and alternative. But the second girl that I actually played was Tamasamiki. Now, from what some people far more experienced with the franchise as a whole told me, Tamasamiki isn't a lot of people's favorites, which to me is a shame because if Sumika's route was closer to a 6, then Miki's route was like a 9. I had so much fun with her route, and I'll try to explain why while not totally fangirling about her character and everything related to it. So, Tamasamiki is a cat lolly of the cast, basically. I think she's the oldest cast member, which is very funny considering her body type and her appeal. And her hair. Her hair is ridiculous. Like, her hair has like natural cat ear, sorry. Oh god, she's so fun. So her arc is actually a deviation from what came before with Sumika, because Sumika's arc covers a lot of the main events, or so to say, of the series. You have this lacrosse match, this arc where like for the school festival, the girls have to learn to play lacrosse and be proficient at it in order to beat another class, and it's incredibly long. But Tamasemiki's route, being the goaded route that it is, just forgets about all of this and introduces this very personal and very surprisingly well thought out conflict about Tamasemiki's anxiety. She has issues, both expressing her own opinions in front of others, as well as performing, which is a huge issue because Tamasemiki belongs to the team. Archery team. Oh god, I can't pronounce anything. And the series, like I said before, this route deviates from the previous one because it introduces a conflict regarding her and her family's dojo, which is being threatened by a rival in archery who stakes the dojo's ownership with Tamasemiki's father. And so this is something very funny. Miki's rival in this segment of the story looks like a mouse, and she looks like a cat. So it's like a cat and mouse, you get it. I found it funny. I have horrible taste in humor. So Mickey's route was, like I said before, so damn fun. There are many dramatic elements, but I feel like those don't clash with the rest because her route is much better paced than Sumika's. And this is the moment where I can say that I fell in love with Muv-Luv. Muv-Luv Extra has a lot of, I don't want to say haters because that would be inaccurate, but it has a lot of detractors. Its quality is often debated, but after reading, playing, whatever, Tama's route, I really can't say that because it was such an injection of pure energy. Remember how I talked about how this game has such great presentation? Well, it really shines through with Miki. She's this high-spirited, very conscious, very kind, but also like very cute and funny type of character, if you know what I mean. And she just made me grin through her entire series. Her dealing with her issues of with performing in front of others was something that I could relate to a lot. And I really like the fact that Takeru has a very active role in this route. I feel like in the rest of the routes, and I can't opinionate on Chizuru's since I didn't do her route. I'll probably do so in the future, but like in this route, he really came into his own when it came to doing stuff, when it came to encouraging the girl. Not to say he didn't in the other ones, but I feel like there's a special emphasis on him being very proactive in this one, which I found which I was very grateful for. So yeah, Tamasamiki's route is easily a 9. I don't give it a 10 because fuck it, it deserves a 10. It really is an amazing route. Now let's get into the next route that I played, which is Ayamine. Now, Ayamine, from a design standpoint, was my favorite character because she has, well, let's say, very kind proportions, and like her voice in particular, I'm very weak to that type of hushy voice. I don't know how to describe it. It sounds like she's always it always sounds like she's whispering, even when her voice is really loud. And I found that a very interesting character trait. And I found her as a character very interesting. And so I immediately fell in love with her. So her route, however, surprised me, blindsided me quite a bit because I really wasn't expecting her route to have so much involvement from another character called Sagiri, who I'm not going to spoil anything in this video, but like he's an important guy to say the least in the context of the entire Muv-Luv series. Well, at least the trilogy. So, anyways, Ayamina's route deals with her relationship with a previous guy, Sagiri, and also her developing relationship with Takeru, and this route was very interesting because Ayamine as a whole, in the other route especially, she's a very mysterious type of character. You know, she almost reminds me of that girl from like Mysterious Girlfriend X, this weird, very weird anime with a girl that involves a lot of saliva. Of course, Ayamine is not nearly enough as weird as that girl, but personality-wise, they kind of resemble each other. And so I thought that this route would be much more about trying to effectively communicate with Ayamine, you know, Takeru learning how to get along with her, etc. But it actually has a very heavy emphasis on this other character, this doctor of this very respectable hospital who was entangled in a bit of an affair with Ayamine quite a while ago, which I found a bit questionable. And but the guy's love for her is real. Like he becomes like a genuine competitor for Ayamine's love when you versus Takeru, our main character, and I was really surprised again by the level of dramatic tension that it managed to elicit with me. And this route as a whole has a lot of shocking elements, you know, from learning that she was in a bit of a weird relationship with the guy with quite the age gap, but also the fact that the lacrosse. Remember how I was talking about lacrosse? Well, the lacrosse match goes badly, and Susumiya, I think was her name, gets badly injured, and so she gets taken to the hospital, and she gets developed as a character. I was surprised by the amount of moving parts in this particular route, but I liked it for it. I think that out of the more on the more dramatic side of Muv-Luv Extra, you know, if there was like a scale, this would be uh, pretty high on it, but I still think it manages to stick the landing. Sagiri as a character, I think I really didn't find his character to be that appealing, but I think in comparison to Takeru, you know, as a foil to Takeru's growing affection for Ayamine, I think it worked really well, and I'm really glad that the route with her contains some, let's say, some more than well-made age scenes at the end, for which I, as the audience, was very glad. You know. Now let's talk, of course, about finally, because sorry, glasses class president fans, totally skipped Chizuru's route because I'm fairly new to visual novels. So it's not that my patience was running dry. It's just that I was also involved in a lot of other media as well. So I went straight to the final route of the game, Meiya's route. Now, Meiya is probably my favorite overall. I know I said that Ayamina's design is my favorite, and yes, from an attraction standpoint, that still stands. But like Meiya is everything. I think one of the strongest aspects of her character from the get go is that she's very proactive, not just in her own segment of the story, but like in impact. By all means and purposes, Meiya is the character that puts things into motion, and she really makes her own out of the narrative. Now, you know, she's a rich girl. She has servants as well. I will talk about the rest of the cast later, but Meiya is fantastic, and her route is probably the single highlight of the game. Her there is a lot of foreshadowing with certain past events regarding her identity, which I won't talk about right now. But let me just say that the payoff is incredible. The ending to Meiya's route was so amazing that I was genuinely like agape. Like my mouth hit the floor, my jaw hit the floor, and it refused to leave it until a few hours later because I just couldn't believe just how explosive of a finale it had. And I'm really, really glad that I stuck with Muv-Luv Extra and decided to do as many endings as I could because seeing Meiya's to completion was wow. It was something else. Let me tell you this. Meiya also is I have to say that the foundation for Meia's arc was a bit weird for me because it's based on like this event, like I said, that happened a long time ago. So sometimes, her justification can be like, but like the execution of her character is so great and it all pays off in such great spectacle that I can't complain about it. It really was that excellent. Also, she has the best um a scene at the end, if you know what I mean. She has definitely the best hentai scene at the end of the game. So if you're into that, I can promise quality with Maya. And I don't want to say any more because, like, again, her resolution is so fantastic, and it really shows one of the strongest aspects of the Muv-Luv trilogy as a whole, and that is payoff. Now, I don't think Muv-Luv and Muv-Luv Unlimited and Alternative by extension are perfect pieces of fiction, and I think that there's a lot of other stories, both in the medium of visual novels and outside of it, that do things better. But if there's one thing that Muv-Luv is a master at, it's at delivering payoff. Rarely have I seen a story be so good at setting up its pieces, carefully moving them around the board, and just landing the hit with such precision. It's insane how much use Mob Love gets out of every single element of its story. And it's something, like I said, that carries over into every single installment. And I'm sure that it carries on into the spin offs as well. I'm currently taking a break from the franchise, but I'm glad, I'm very giddy to return eventually and play the rest of the series. Now let's talk about the rest of the cast, since I have more or less covered my feelings on each of like the routes. Of course, there's much more to talk about, but I'm just trying to sort out my feelings in a somewhat coherent manner, and I don't want to ramble on for 3 hours. Though I probably will when I get to alternative, because alternative is a piece of fiction that is wow. Let's talk about the rest. So first, I want to talk about Yuko Sensei. Now, she's a sexy scientist, which immediately make me pay attention. I have to be honest. She's a very funny character, and her relationship with Marimo, who is like your homeroom teacher, is a very beautiful thing to witness. It's definitely one of the first surprises that Muv-Luv Extra had for me because, like I said, Muv-Luv Extra is a parody of rom-com, but it's a very exaggerated parody. So it has a lot of slapstick humor. It has a lot of ridiculous humor. So if you just want to have a good time and laugh, then I can also recommend Extra because it has a lot of moments like that. A lot of moments are initiated by Yuko Sensei and Marimo. So she's the goat. She also has a lot of snarky remarks. And in terms of foreshadowing, her character is extremely important. So I was very surprised by her and how much I like her. Same thing for Marimo. Marimo is like your homeroom teacher. And one of the difficult things with Muv-Luv is that Muv-Luv is so good at foreshadowing that it's kind of hard to separate her image in Muv-Luv Extra from what comes after. So Marimo may not be that amazing in Muv-Luv Extra, but she's still a very wholesome character, and you will have a few laughs with her. I promise you this, she will be one of your favorites by the time you're done with the entire trilogy. That I can promise. I also want to bring attention to Tsukuyomi and the three idiots whose names my God, I cannot remember. I know there's like a dark skinned one with like a purple hair. I think there's one that has like blonde hair, and she has like the the weird way of talking where like she says Desu all the time. And there's the one that's orange haired who has like Super Saiyan hair. I love them all, the three lowly mate squad. And Tsukuyomi, who is the favorite of a lot of fans for similar reasons to Marimo. She gets amazing development later on in later entries, but I don't want to spoil that in this video. Um, these three add to the comedy of Mob Love to such a high degree that they're irreplaceable pieces of the story. I think Mob Love Extra is carried entirely by its characters. It doesn't have particularly shocking events. It has shocking reveals having to do with characters' backstories, and this can range from good to bad. Though most of the time they tend to be on the more enjoyable side. And Tsukuyomi, Yuko Sensei, Marimo, the three idiots, the initial D taxi driver. Oh my god, this game has so many moments where I'm looking back and I'm like, how the hell? that it's so ridiculous. This game, it's such an exaggeration, but it's such a charismatic exaggeration of every single trope that you will find in like generic rom-coms that you can't help but grin when you read, when you play through it. And I'm really glad that I listened to the recommendation of stick with extra. Don't you dare do as many routes as you physically can, because it really was a worthy experience and one that I'm very thankful for. If I had to give a rating, a numerical rating to the entire game as a whole, I would give it a 7. I think it's really, really enjoyable. And I'll talk about Unlimited on the next video because I'm running out of air because I'm really trying to only talk about Extra. And yeah, that's basically my rant on Muv-Luv Extra. It's been 25 minutes, my God. And if you want to have fun, if you want to have pure fun, fun with capital F, fun that says "fu" to the whole world, because it's just such a ridiculous experience, and I really recommend Muv-Luv Extra. I've heard a lot of people recommend Muv-Luv Alternative, and Muv-Luv Alternative is a masterpiece. Don't get me wrong; it's an emotional roller coaster, and I've seen a lot of people say that Unlimited is where it gets good. So I wanted to show a little bit of love towards Muv-Luv Extra because I feel like Muv-Luv Extra tends to be ignored. I don't think it's out of malicious intent. I don't think that Muv-Luv fans are the ones to be like, "Oh, Muv-Luv Extra sucks." If anything, it's people that drop the series, which makes sense. If you dislike something, you're much more likely to talk about it than if you love it. So, as somebody on the other side, as somebody who enjoyed every single step of the way, as somebody that everyone told him, "Oh, you're not going to enjoy Muv-Luv Extra. Muv-Luv Extra is mid. Muv-Luv Extra isn't worth your time. It's just a prelude to when it gets good." I have to say that I disagree, and that Muv-Luv Extra is a wonderful experience and one that, for me, just showed me how versatile visual novels can be. I'm new to the medium, like I said. I'm barely familiar. I've read Saya no Uta, Higurashi no Mineko, that's it, before reading the Muv-Luv trilogy. And it's been really amazing to me how visual novels themselves can be quite different from anime, manga, and light novels, yet how similar they can be, and yet have their own strengths and weaknesses, of course. If I had to give a few cons to Muv-Luv Extra, like I said, to round things about, so this isn't just completely gushing about it, I think that the pacing can sometimes be a little slow. That lacrosse arc is painful, painful, painful in terms of pacing. It's great the first time you go through it, I guess, but it's such a standard event in a piece of fiction full of breakthroughs and like exaggeration that it feels weird. Like what is this normal anime stuff doing in my weird ass parody of rom-coms? This should be weirder. This should be more explosive, like the initial D parody race with Yuko Sensei and the chauffeur for Meiya. That scene is amazing, and you have that scene alone. The initial D parody alone is worth the price of admission for Muv-Luv Extra. I guarantee you that on my life. Also, like I said, I think that some of Sumika's drama is a little bit over exaggerated, and I think it's something. However, it is retroactively improved once you get to Muv-Luv Alternative, for example. So overall, 7 out of 10. It's really enjoyable, and don't look at it just as a stepping stone for Unlimited and Alternative. Take it slow. Take your time with Muv-Luv Extra because I think that Muv-Luv Extra makes sure to make your time worth it. This has been reviews by Gaius. If you'd like to hear more opinions on pieces of fiction that seem to be ignored by the general public, then make sure to subscribe, like, and hey, if you want to donate to my to my very financially broke household, then I'll leave my links in the description. And I hope you have not only a good time, but a wonderful every day. Yes, I got that reference in.